So I read your article about the 6 fundamental essentials to acquire real estate. Maybe you could tell the audience what those are.
I'd be happy to, Greg. Well, the first is to know your market, to understand the marketplace and what sort of buildings are going for what sort of price. Because if you don't understand that, then you're lost. The second is to know the needs of the other side and to try and accommodate those needs, but at the same time be very forceful about what you need in order to complete a transaction. The third essential item for a negotiated agreement, Greg, is called a BATNA, a B-A-T-N-A, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And that simply means that we always have alternatives as we negotiate a transaction. So in the perfect world, I'm negotiating on 3 different buildings at once, and I let each of the parties know that we're negotiating with other parties. Keeps them on their toes. It's an important element of negotiation. As soon as a party you're negotiating with realizes that they're the only game in town, everything's going to freeze. The fourth item that I find very important is that you always have to negotiate with the full list of objectives that you're trying to achieve. It's not a good idea to negotiate piecemeal. In other words, we don't negotiate the work letter and then a week later negotiate the price and then a week later negotiate the term of the lease. It all has to be brought together because there are certain elements that might appeal to the other side and they're willing to trade off against other items. So I prefer in-person negotiation sessions. 1, because I can read body language, but 2, it is much more effective in what I call horse trading, where I can look at you and say, you know, Greg, if you can give me this, because this is very important to me, I can give you that. And we can come to an agreement. It's so much better than emails back and forth, because you don't have that same discussion of needs. The fifth element for closing deals is to try and be as creative as I can. I'm trying to think of out-of-the-box solutions. Is there a way that we can accomplish getting the job done and making everybody happy? So I might be asking questions of either side. What would be the cost to us if we couldn't close this right away? Could you live with the seller leasing back a certain portion of the warehouse space for a period of time if he can't relocate by the closing date? So these are just sort of out-of-the-box solutions that might solve a problem with a closing date or a price or some other issue on the transaction. And then finally, and this is just really, really important, is to maintain a sense of urgency once a deal has been struck. So I call it the fiddle theory. The longer you fiddle around with a deal, the less likely you are to make it. And it's very important that once you get the kernel of a deal done, you get it into paper, you get the parties on board. I also say to myself, when you have the ball on the 3-yard line, yeah, take it over yourself. You don't pass it off. You don't try for a pass. You take it over the top yourself. So I have been known to travel from office to office to office in one day just to get a lease signed because you need to maintain that sense of urgency.
There you go. That's very important information. Thank you. Anything can pop up and change the whole thing.
You know what can pop up, Greg? A better deal. You don't have it in writing. You have a handshake, better deal comes along, higher price, you get a call.
Yeah.
You know, I've changed my mind.
Over the finish line. It's not done till the paperwork is done.
That's absolutely correct.
Thank you, David. That's good advice. Don't miss any future segments. You can subscribe at huntcorp.com, and you can reach David at the information on the screen. See you next time.